I engaged with a man coming out of Mormonism named Carlos in Arizona over the phone a while ago. He wrote me and he said, I wanted to know if we could start up our dialogue again. I've been drawn into William Lane Craig's apologetics on the existence of God, and he's helped solidify my belief in God with his philosophy as well as reading scripture. And so he went to talk about William Lane Craig, who's a great mind. He's a professor at Biola, way beyond what I can comprehend mostly, but a great mind. Well, Carlos, then later on, I get a text from him, and he wanted insight about his questions about God. And so he contacted an apologetic group that used to like me and asked them where to go next. And he said, I have been watching and talking with Shawn McCraney, and I also have been reading William Lane Craig. This is a quote from them back, and he forwarded me the text. To start with, in your search, Carlos, unfortunately, Shawn McCraney has fallen into heresy. Also, we have very strong disagreements with William Lane Craig's theology and apologetics. I would start by no longer reading or listening to them. It's really just amazing. When do we stop? I get when people will say that I have become heretical, because I do talk about things outside, and I'm not afraid to consult God in different ways and see his scripture in different ways. So I see how you can say he's a little bit heretical, and all that means is I'm outside of orthodoxy. But William Lane Craig, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, and the point is, we can attack everybody for something. And these guys have decided to go to like the cream of the crop now and decide that they don't like his apologetics and his theology. Stop reading them. This policing in the body is just sickening. We don't trust the Spirit. We don't trust that Christ is in charge of his church. We think we're in charge of doing it. It is just a disgusting thing that's happened. I'm reading a book right now. I'm just going to be rude and pull it out. It's excellent. I'm going to tout it here. It's by Os Guinness, the author of Renaissance. It's called Fool's Talk, and it's called Recovering the Art of Christian Persuasion. And he goes on and talks about, in this day and age of internet and the unifying of the world through technology, that we have completely lost our minds about who Christ is and what the message of the good news is, with all sorts of apologetic approaches that are just reprehensible. And he talks about very early in the book about how, listen, we need to start dealing realistically with some of our claims. In the past, we got away with a lot of our claims, but he says we have a really sharp atheistic crowd out there now, and they are holding our feet to the fire. And the stuff we used to claim and get away with is now just being laughed at, and it should be. We have ridiculously bathed ourselves in rhetoric that just hypes us up, but has no basis in reason. And God is a reasonable God, and he works with us where we are. It's like when we talk about the flood and we talk about fitting all the animals, every animal to some, every single one on an ark. And so one of the arguments that was passed around for a while, and I've heard some very intelligent people pass this along, that God shrunk the dinosaurs down to this big so that he could fit them in along with every other creature. And that's a good one. I think that's how he did it. Do you realize when we make this stuff up how stupid we look? And stupidity is not going to work anymore. We need to get off our stupid positions and just start being reasonable. Maybe it was a geographical flood. Maybe it was the animals of that area. Maybe it was the animals of the whole world, but all the species hadn't blossomed out, and it didn't include dinosaurs, nor did it include every type of rabbit or whatever Let's start backing off the zealous dogma so we can start getting a reputation among people that says they're loving, they're reasonable, they want to know truth, and they're patient with me and my questions and stuff. Oh, my goodness.